Again.
It's not the usually one, it's not the one thing I usually get.
I got a case of exactly.
Okay, we're good to go. We will, call the special meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Mappy, you start. Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have to call out roll call or anything, or should we just announce who's here? All right. Present at today's meeting is, Mr. Cook, Enforcement Officer.
Michelle Kavalowski.
Charlie Wilson. Gary Zaranowski.
Joseph Riley.
And Mr. Nappy.
Ken Nappy.
Recording secretary. Okay, purpose of the special meeting is to conduct our deliberations on the Shelter Ridge project. You all know that we have volumes of information, and as I spoke at the last meeting, there are three options basically facing the commission. You can have approval with various conditions. You could deny it, and so denying it, you're also gonna have to have exact conditions as to why. Or it can be denied by being incomplete, in that we don't have updated information or enough information that we feel that we can make a proper decision. One of my issues in going through all of these things is that the plans that we have on the table are still plans from 2017. They reflect none of the changes that were discussed during the portion of the public hearing, as far as, changes that the applicant was willing to make based on testimony of, various parties, whether it be interveners, the public, whatnot, the commission. And at the last public hearing, they threw in one more thing, as this project has been seemed like an ever-changing project as it went through the process. It's just, just like rolling downhill, changes all the time. So at the last public hearing, they said that they were going to increase the open space or the buffer around the vernal pool area and eliminate that one area. Okay, fine, and also some other things. Also, we were expecting, or at least I was expecting, a geotechnical report, which they had testified during the public hearings that they were going to hire and supply us with it. Now they said that they have retained one, but that when they determine where the infiltrators, we'll call them, were actually going to be located, then that geotechnical firm would then decide what the best course of action would be based on that area of property. I'm not very comfortable with that. I mean, these plans were significantly drawn out to huge amounts of, down to 10, 1-foot scales and this and that. And now at the last minute, you're telling me that you don't know where these things are going. And so it's sort of like trust me on this, where I put them, I'll come back and this and that. I don't go for that. I don't buy for it. You know what I mean? And even years ago, when Chairman De Silva was running it, and we had a question on one of our projects, we had approved it, and then things were not done as to what we approved. And the ruling from the Corporation Council was, well, it's based on what you have in front of you. It's based on the plan submitted, it's based on that there. You can discuss anything you want at these hearings with the applicants, with everybody, and they can say, yeah, we'll do this, yeah, we'll do that. But unless it is on those plans, it's not bound by that applicant. Just identify yourself. Mr. Riley?
Mike, because we're talking about two waterways, not one, but two. I think the plans are insufficient, and I want to deny it.
Okay, that's certainly your opinion. Anybody else have any comments that they'd like to make?
Yeah, give us the options again, Mr. Chairman.
You can approve it, which I'm not comfortable with conditions, like any other project. You know, there's always conditions of approval based on, just something as simple as based on approval by the city engineer. Okay, you know, and
Let me,
things of that nature. I'm just saying,
I'm sorry.
these are, guidelines that we normally run by. You
Okay,
know, so we could say that this could be approved based on this, and this. But on a project like this, there are a multitude of, conditions that would have to be applied,
yes, sir.
all right? Or it can be denied, but again, in going to the courts, which we kind of probably all realize it's got a good probability of doing, the judge is going to require that any Inland Wetlands Commission, in denying a project, has to be able to pretty much prove that it will make some
Adversely affect.
adverse effects, if you will, if you want to call it that, yeah.
Okay,
All right, and those things, you can't just say, well, it might do that, or it might do that. That's not good enough,
oh, okay.
Or the third option is to deny it because it's incomplete. And the way I'm looking at it is, like I said, none of those plans that we have right there are not complete. They don't show any of the changes, they don't show any of the things, so that we can't even really discuss those opportunities, because we don't see where they are on the plans. All right, you're telling us you're giving this buffer, you're telling us you're eliminating this, what else changes? You can't, now you're moving this one infiltrator because you're giving us more, buffer around the
Right.
vernal pool. All right, so now where does that go? What else would that possibly impact? We don't know because we don't have it on the plans. I mean, and then we had, the opportunity of when the city engineer's report, when he said that there was, he felt that the 3 or 4 houses in our neighborhood were going to be flooded based on this project as that one right there is. And yet, when, I think it was Commissioner Nappy asked the question, they asked this, they said, we'll be willing to work with the neighbors, to address that problem. The only problem I have with that is, I've heard that so many times over the last 30 years, that it never happens, because what happens is, they'll say, well, there was nothing we can do, because we can't go on somebody else's property, we can't do that, we can't do that. But 9 times out of 10, it comes back to, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And then those property owners are now faced with what, something like the city.
So it's an
So
incomplete
I
hit.
think, Mr. Chairman, that based on those 3 options, that my feeling is that, we all feel, I think, in agreement that there is insufficient information.
Well, that's my opinion.
That what happened is, the applicant is saying one thing, the intervener is saying another, and our consultant's saying he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So how can we make a decision based on what we feel is insufficient information? And I think that's the easiest thing to defend, because that's the truth. We're gonna deny it because we feel there's insufficient information. It's controversial.
I agree.
For instance, like,
I agree. I'm sorry.
you go to like
Charlie Wilson.
Charlie Wilson, you go to
Charlie.
page 15 of this transcript, we were telling you, Jim Swift goes, we've been in contact with hydraulical engineers, things like that, putting together programs to make sure that infiltration can be proven in any condition under rock excavation, under placement of fill, under existing areas, et cetera. Then saying we could accept it as a condition of approval, that it can be done, but we don't have any of the science.
Right.
Exactly. And like I said,
You know what I mean?
Are they allowed, Michelle, are they allowed to
Michelle.
keep adding prints after the public hearing and all that stuff?
no,
They're not,
that's the issue. That's the plan
No.
that we continue with under
this is from-
public hearing.
They're not allowed.
Yeah,
Right. So even if,
they're not allowed to do it, so you're in a catch-22.
well, I mean, and I remember years ago, planning and zoning was faced with a thing, there was the old green glass building, if you would have, in Huntington Center. I don't know if you all remember that.
Yep.
Dr. Montanaro, I believe, was the applicant, and it was on John's property before that. And I think planning and zoning had, somehow they ended up in court.
Yes, they do.
And at the time, the records of P and Z were so mishmashed that the judge even said, I don't even know what plans you guys are talking about. Because it was just, you know, and he says, you have to give me the plans for me to look at that are these are the plans that, this is what is going to be built by. They had a scramble and this and that, and then we even got a phone call, I know Mr. Cook got a phone call from the Corporation Council saying, look, you know, what plans are you guys, because it was that, you know, convoluted. And, you know, and I don't want to get into a situation like this, okay, yeah, I mean, you know, and like Corporation Council said, if it doesn't go on those plans, it's not a viable issue. We could discuss it all we want here, but if it's not on paper, when those plans get, you know, construction plans go out, they get submitted to a contractor, that's what they're building off of. Not saying, well, no, that was supposed to be over there. Well, I don't know, it's not on my plans.
Mr. Chairman, I think, Ken Nappy, that one of the safest things to do is, if we feel that we're gonna deny it because of insufficient information, then we should consult with counsel.
Before you arrived, we had, Corporation Counsel Fran Tito's had called in and said that, no matter where we decided to go, approval, denial, whatever, is that we're going to sit down with Fran to draw, whatever motion it is that we come to a consensus to make sure that it's legally defendable.
So I would recommend that we not make any decision today until we consult with counsel, so
Yes.
we don't jeopardize.
Yes. Well, if that's what you want, yes.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I
Mr.
agree.
Riley?
Joe Riley, I agree.
Okay.
Michelle,
With
what about you as well?
Mr. Ken Nappy, I agree 100%, but I think this plan should be denied. But I wanna make sure legally we're okay.
Well, yes, that's, you're reflecting what Mr. Nappy said, yeah.
Exactly.
Michelle, you're good with that?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that, Charlie Wilson, yeah.
Okay.
I'd just like to hear from our administrator to see if he's, you're John Cook?
John Cook, for the record, and, to follow along with the commission's deliberations there as far as completeness of the application. One of the other things that comes in, as this was put forth, through a public hearing process, is, the commission not to, approve an application unless all feasible and prudent alternatives has been proven, that one does not exist. So there's also that recognition, does the commission feel that there's been an exhaustive analysis to see what other options are available, putting a building here, doing that, and if that alternatives analysis is incomplete, that is also could be one of your rationales to form a resolution with council.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Riley, this project impacts not one, but two waterways.
Not to mention flowing onto city open space.
Not to mention the open space. I wanted to make sure, because that's my job here, that they're not impacted
Adversely in any way.
adversely.
Right. I agree.
Mr. Chairman, Ken Nappy, just one more comment. I think it's important to say that our responsibility is to protect the waterways, but our responsibility also is to protect the residents that live in that area, and I'm still not comfortable with the response, from the applicant as to the city engineer's letter, that said it would adversely affect and cause flooding to
Right.
4 or more.
Right, and like I said,
So there's not sufficient information to rebut what the city engineer said, so that's,
no, and I agree with you, you know, and I share the concerns of the neighborhoods. I mean, you know, unfortunately, like in many towns and other times, it seems like, you know, when it comes to commercial development, because of the economic impacts or benefits to the city, a lot of times these cities and towns forget, you know, the people that made this city and town what it is. These people, some of them, you know, 30, 40, 50 years have lived in these neighborhoods, and now all of a sudden, after all this time, they got a skyscraper going up to the next one. So instead of going out into the backyard and enjoying a nice view, I gotta look at this, you know, I mean, and sometimes, you know, that's not the right way to do. And even if you remember in studying, Tom Harbison's or the, Conservation Commission's report, that's one of the things that he, stresses in there, is that, you know, nowhere during this course of discussions has there been, like John says, you know, a prudent alternative even, you know, looked at. I mean, do they need to put that apartment building that high up in the...
They could
You know,
develop.
anything, you know, in Tom Harmon's, I mean, he basically, and he's not an engineer, or, I mean, he might be, but I mean, you know, the designer of this type of project, where you can design a beautiful project on this side of that ridge. That's where all the problems delineate from that
I
ridge
agree.
line towards the neighborhood.
I agree.
If you left all of that alone, and that includes the vernal pool, and that flows onto the city open space with the nice waterfalls and everything else, I think it would be a win-win. It would be good for the neighborhood because they would have the protective buffer, and we can maintain all of that. The Trails Commission could still get their trail in the proper location that they wanted, okay, instead of on a ridge. And the applicant can still get his project all put in there, and you're basically facing Bridgeport Avenue. I mean, you know, a lot of times, I mean, if I gotta drive up this mountain to get to something in the back, how the heck do I even know it's there? And we all see now with this new economy stuff, bricks and mortar buildings may not be the way of the future. Now we go and we disturb all of this area, and for naught. You know, we're gonna have empty lots, we're gonna have half constructed things, this and that. I mean, I'm not gonna go for that. I'm sorry, I just won't.
Gary,
I don't think, Ken, I don't think we should make a decision whether we approve, deny, or
Yeah, no, I'm just saying,
deny.
that's my feeling, this is a project that I would like to see.
Council, because, I mean, we could deny it without prejudice so that they can refile a new application also.
Well, they could refile a new application if we deny it because it's incomplete. They just
Yeah.
gotta.
Well, I just wanted to.
But I
Yeah.
agree, Ken, we should have
I
Fran give us his opinion, but I think we're all the same, we all...
Based on the information that's.
Kenny, I agree also.
Yeah.
I agree also.
All right, well, if the
I'm
commission,
on the
if the,
same
go ahead, John.
John Cook. So in listening to, Corporation Counsel's, call-in right before the meeting started, one was to, you know, formulate a the commission has a consensus, so that now, one or more members can sit down, with council. It may take, one or more meetings to put that consensus to a decision. He requested to be intimately involved, so whatever the commission's consensus was, so that he can prepare the best decision for the commission.
Ken, I'm not willing to make a consensus whether we approve or deny until we meet with them. I think that prejudices some of the discussion that we still could have. That's my opinion.
I agree.
I mean, we're still
I
in the,
think we should move forward, Michelle. We should move forward and get, new plans that we can actually work off of.
So, yeah, so in determination, that would be incomplete.
Right, this would be incomplete, so we deny it just because it's incomplete, and then give us real plans, and then we can,
Then we can actually make a determination that once we
Right.
see the original plans. So if you want.
I'm just saying the
commission wants-
consensus should be to meet with council first rather than make a
right,
consensus opinion.
right.
All right, so do we all wanna meet with the council, or,
Well, it should be an open meeting.
okay, so then, John?
That's my opinion, but, I
Yeah.
mean, we have,
John Cook, I could, set that up so that all members, we have one member that's also, not present today. He also could be, present, and all the members could sit with council in a meeting format to go over their options as far as consensus and what direction ultimately may be decided upon.
Okay. So let's
And
do
I'll-
that. All right.
And, I would just need some, variety of dates from all the members so that I could coordinate with council for you.
just, Ken, just check with them whether, because it's, negotiations with the type of contract and approval, whether it should be an executive first, then an open meeting.
John, you got that?
Yep, check to make sure whether it's be an executive meeting with you guys or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlie Wilson, could we have a meeting scheduled for next week, John? A regular meeting?
Yeah, I was gonna try and set up something like this for the regular meeting next Thursday,
Maybe we
same
could
time,
do
10
it
o'clock.
An hour before and do it at the same time.
Okay, I'll try for that,
Yeah.
depending on council.
That's a good suggestion, Charlie. Good suggestion. Of course, I'm always late, so.
You can sleep over my house. I'll bring you with me. You gotta go in the trunk. All right, so I think that's where we're at. if anybody doesn't have anything else to say, take a motion to adjourn.
Well, before that, just on behalf of the commission, I know it was a trying time with your mom, and we just want to offer our sympathy to you.
My apologies.
But she was smart, she knew this was coming, she wrote down the phone. God bless her.
She was smarter than you. And
Yes,
you're
she
smart,
was.
and you're smart.
I will say that every day of my life. She's been much smarter than
Are
me.
you able to, mourn her properly, though? Was it during it?
Yeah, no, it was just before that, yeah,
Okay.
so no, it worked out.
Yeah, 'cause I had an aunt that passed
It
away.
was like
We couldn't
2 weeks
even,
before all this really hit, so, yeah, so we were able to have normal services and stuff like that, you know. Because I see a lot of friends of mine with people dying and can't have really anything.
I had a Polish and Slovak mom, and she was brilliant. She was brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how smart they get from the time you're like 15 to when you're like 22. You know, I don't know where they go to school.
Right?
I don't know where they go to school during that time, but they learn a lot. All right, nothing further to say, motion to adjourn, Joe?
Motion.
Second, Michelle?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved, meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Make sure we got
I think I gotta go pee.
recordings off and whatnot, so.
Once again, I apologize to you folks for being so late. I really